Welcome back everyone, my name's Eltimar and we're going to be continuing our Let's Play of Wrath of the Righteous. Where we left off last time, we were talking to people in the tavern. We've talked to a good amount of the people we wanted to talk to. We do have a few more people to talk to, including Horgus Gworm. Here, take this. Yes, it's 2,000 coins. Take your payment and remember that Horgus Gworm always keeps his word. He helped me get back to the surface and I duly paid you for escorting me. Now, speaking of our future cooperation, Horgus looks at you with unvarnished disapproval, his arms folded across his chest, his foot tapping impatiently. I have a job that would be perfect for someone like you. Naturally, I'll pay generously for your services. So what do you mean, a job for somebody like me? Or an adventurer ready to sell their soul for booze and then lie down drunk in the gutter? Or do you think you're somehow different? A traveling knight perhaps, noble of heart, but without a coin to your name. Horgus sizes you up critically and then sighs and shrugs. You seem reliable enough ally to me, and you got me out of those caves. So why should I care what you do with your money once you've got it? Horgus seems like one of those people who thinks the entire world owes them something. However, there are notes of hysteria beneath his smug arrogance. It's as though he's really quite nervous, but is taking great pains to conceal it. What kind of reward are we talking about? 1,000 gold coins, Horgus replies without hesitation. Double the reward and I'll think about it. Huh, yeah right, for that kind of money I could hire Queen Galfrey herself to guard me. 1,000 is my final offer. Noble birth doesn't give you the right to behave badly. I would ask that you refrain from such statements in the future. Horgus puts his hand on his hips. Oh really, how impudent. No one dares tell Horgus Gworm how to address the rabble. So what does this job involve? You shall be my bodyguard. You see, I have good reason to return to my mansion here in Canaveras. I still have... well, it doesn't matter. It's none of your business. My mansion is a breathtaking building with a large garden in the wealthy part of the city. Even before the demons attacked, every thief and fraudster in the city had tried to get inside, one way or another. I shudder to imagine the state it's in now. I have little hope that my guards were able to hold the mansion during the attack, and I expect that the servants fled when they saw the demons. Only Abadar knows what's happened there since. Therefore, I would ask that you meet me at my mansion and guard me until I complete my business. I already asked the local paladins for help, but they've no desire to set foot outside this tavern. Damn cowards and traitors, that's what they are. Also, please do take Camellia with you. I trust that girl more than the rest of your gang. She is of noble birth, after all. Now you can actually still get money out of this. You say you're not interested. And he bores into us with his inquisitive eyes. Why do you refuse? You don't need the money. Perhaps it's not enough? Fine. I'll double the amount. Deal. We get the extra $1,000 even though we didn't get the diplomacy. Check completed. Marvelous. Most excellent. Horgus's face relaxes, smoothing a few of the tense lines. I'll proceed to my mansion at once and wait for you there. Meanwhile, you needn't worry. I know the city like the back of my hand, but do hurry, unless you want me to lower your reward. And we have Gworm's mansion. We've already talked to Camellia, so we don't need to talk to her again. We're going to talk to Jurnog really quickly. A young man in well-worn traveling clothes and a simple wooden symbol of Erastil on his chest is efficiently cutting a linen rope into strips to use as bandages. Despite his visible exhaustion, he works with zeal, singing some tune about red braids and ripe sheaves of wheat under his breath. He raises his warm, chestnut-colored eyes to you. Are you one of the Crusaders? Thank you for defending those of us whose talents lie off the battlefield. I'm Jurnog, servant of Erastil. Pleased to meet you. What are you doing? I only took my holy orders recently, so my god has only bestowed a little of his power upon me as yet. I'm sorry to say that the number of wounded fighters in this tavern is far beyond my power to heal, but there's a reason people say have faith in the gods, but look to yourself first. I may not be able to help the wounded with magic, but I can at least cut up bandages. Are you from around here? No, I was just passing through Canaveras. I was sailing down that old man of ours, the great Selin River, to a village by the name of Chilly Creek. I happened to land in the city on the eve of the festival, and I'm ashamed to say I decided to stay for a day to enjoy myself, but I ended up staying in the city longer than I bargained for. Chilly Creek, where's that? It's a small fishing village. It's not even marked on some maps, but people do live there. What they don't have is a priest. They have no one to heal their wounds, no one to offer prayers for a good catch, no one to keep or give their dead a dignified burial, and the world wound is only a stone's throw away. So I'll be setting sail for Chilly Creek to serve my god and my people. Once we've held Canaveras, I'll be going there. If by the grace of the good gods we all survive this, you should come visit me. You'll find a village there on the bank of the river. The priest marks Chilly Creek on our map. Aren't you a young and inexperienced cleric, afraid to go to the border of the world wound? I won't lie, I'm afraid, but what can I do? Those villagers are simple people. Every day of their short lives is spent doing hard, honest work. That's exactly the kind of life I want. Something simple, but meaningful. If I had centuries ahead of me, like the elves do, I might have spared some 50 years or so to travel around the world, the young man says with a smile. Or maybe even 100, and why not? But I don't have time to spare, so I want to spend my short life in the place where I'm needed most, even if it's dangerous, especially if it's dangerous. If you use the help of a cleric. Jernok makes a helpless gesture. Erastil notes would be glad to help you, but it's no use. My spells are depleted, and I have no training in potions or scrolls. See this rope I'm cutting up for bandages? It's the second to last one. Well, I have to go. Who else do it? Oh yeah, I was going to talk to Forn Autumn Haze. I don't know who this is. I don't think they were in the beta, or maybe they were and I missed them. A tall, fragile-looking elf sits in front of you, eyes closed. He is pale as a ghost, his arms wrapped in a blood-stained bandage. You spot other bandages on his body under his clothes, but even in such a miserable state, he still manages to keep calm. Raising his eyes to meet yours, he says faintly, I am Forn Autumn Haze, at your service. His pale lips are reddened by blood, but you see no signs of pain or fear in his grey eyes. Do you need help? After giving you a cold, intense look, he shakes his head. Do not trouble yourself on my behalf. A local healer tended to me. Besides, I come from a resilient, hardy people. My body will endure both the wounds and the poison delivered through them. Who are you? My name is Forn Autumn Haze. I've come here from Kionin because I am a hunter and all minions of evil are my quarry. I won't say more than that. If you don't mind, we are strangers and of different races and cultures. I'd rather not tell you more than is necessary. Who wounded you? A sinner and accomplice to demons. The quarry I'm hunting in this inhospitable place. I'm a Lyra, you can trust me. I might be able to help you. After a brief pause, Forn says, it would be impolite to refuse such a direct and friendly offer. Who's your quarry here in Mendev? I was hunting a fugitive, a Descarite by the name of Kaelessa. It pains me to admit that there are heinous malefactors such as her among my noble kind. I managed to catch up to her in Canabris and I wounded her. Then demons appeared and the city was engulfed in flames. I was injured in the battle that ensued and couldn't free her soul from its service to her dark masters. He expresses no anger or hatred as he speaks, only compassionate sorrow. I'm sorry for your misfortune. I hope that things will turn out differently next time. He purses his lips. There's no need for pity. Our ancient kind is blessed with great longevity. We gain a deeper understanding of the world than other races, and we learn our lessons better than anyone. That goes for learning from our mistakes as well. I survived, which means I'll be more prepared when next we meet. I wish to aid you in your hunt. Forn covers his own eyes warily. I thank you, but this is my mission, and I'm used to facing all manners of terror on my own. I do appreciate your willingness to help. If you do happen to meet Kaelessa, take caution. She has turned many innocent souls to the path of evil, and darkness has rewarded her with many gifts. Her appearance alone will tell you it is warped. The agate skin, the malicious stare of her blood-red eyes, the bestial teeth. She's more monster than elf at this point. Actually a drow, but that's beside the point. What does this Kaelessa look like again? We failed that abysmally. Her skin is dark, her hair is preternaturally white. Her red eyes can see perfectly in the dark, which, to my dismay, I've come to know from experience, but bright light causes her pain. I used an alchemical powder that explodes in a dazzling flash, and she cried out as if I had stabbed her. It's clear that this woman is a faithful servant of darkness. The marks that Kaelessa's masters have left on her appearance says as much. I'd like to know more about you. Nope, no more questions. Gotta go. We are going to head downstairs and meet up with the next group member that we can get, Woljif, who is just down here. Surrender thy soul, Delvin. Iomade, protect us. Haha, got you again. How many times is that today? Take your jokes and shove them, Tiefling. Whoa, easy there, Chief. Don't hit me.
Hey, Chief! Ooh, hey, gorgeous. Come over here. I want to talk to you about something. Something really important.
The young tiefling sits cross-legged on the floor. He looks relatively calm for somebody in shackles, but his tail whips back and forth in agitation. Noticing your attention, the tiefling sits up and beckons you over.
Quit bothering the decent people in here, Woljif, or I'll knock your teeth out!
What's it to you, Delvin Dum-Dum? You were told to guard me, and I'm not stopping you. But no one told me I had to shut my trap.
Who are you?
Woljif. Woljif Jefto. I deal in useful things. I can get you whatever you want. Anything. But there's just one problem.
The tiefling rattles his chains and gives you a meaningful look. What do you want from me?
I'll lay it out for you. Simple job, 30 minutes tops. We go someplace, talk to someone, and in return, whatever you want, I'll get it for you. Some extra rations? No problem. Armor, weapons, scrolls, you name it. It's as good as yours. If you need my help with something, whistle and I'll be there. I'm handy enough with knives too, and even my magic know-how isn't too shabby.
What a load of guff! If you were good at magic, you wouldn't be stuck in here now, would you?
Don't you listen to him, Chief. He'd find fault with the Queen herself. I'll be useful to have in battle, and I'll sell whatever you want at a reasonable price. It's your lucky day. You won't meet another gem like me in Canabras.
Why are you in chains?
Does it really matter? Don't get hung up on the past, Chief. Don't look to the future. Live in the here and now.
He was caught thieving.
Your shadow, what was that?
Get me out of here and I'll tell you. And don't worry, it's not contagious.
Well, I can't help you while you're chained up in here. How can I free you?
That's easy. You know Eriabeth? Feisty looking gal, always wears armor. You can't miss her. She's the meanest fighter in the whole city. When you see her, put in a good word for me, will ya? Tell her there's this guy Woljif locked up for no good reason in the Defender's Heart. Well, for the follies of his youth. And he really wants to get out on bail so he can keep up his good behavior and make a contribution to society. You got that? Will you do it?
Alright, I'll talk to Eriabeth about your situation.
I knew I could count on you. Knew it the moment I laid eyes on you.
Talk later. Alright, we're gonna deal with him in a moment, but we're gonna go talk to somebody else first. We're heading outside now. There's a couple people out here to talk to, but mostly Goran Vane. This is Staunton Vane's brother. A grizzled dwarf turns a blade in his calloused hands, carefully inspecting its edge. When he sees you approaching, he sets the blade aside and greets you with a nod. A new face in the city, you picked a good time to come to Canabras. As you can see, we're in sore need of warriors. I'm going to show radiance to Goran. Do you recognize this sword? Do I recognize it? Of course I do. I made this with my own hands. There's my brand, see? The dwarf carefully takes the sword in his hands, gazing at it like a doting father. Oh, Yaniel, things have been tough without you, but at least we still got your sword. That's something. Goran returns the sword to you. In battle, ordinary swords get blunted, they break, but sometimes a weapon can preserve. I don't know how to explain it, I'm no authority on these things, but something like an echo of the deeds done with the weapon, or more like the reflection of the wielder's soul. I don't know. I will say one thing, take care of that sword. Yaniel may no longer be with us, but the demons will still remember why they need to turn tail and run when they see radiance. Ugh, the scabbard's all worn. Can't be having a fine sword like this, being carried around in that tatty thing. I'll make you a new one if you like. If the city still stands and we both survive, come see me again. I'll have it ready, no charge. Are you Staunton Vane's brother? Yep. Where he goes, I go. That's how we've always done it. Even before the world wound, I forge the armor, he goes into battle and breaks it, then he brings it back to me and I repair it and make it better than before. Everything's changed since then, of course, but that part has stayed the same. How was Staunton to blame for the fall of Dresden? I've told this story so many times already. Well, telling it one more won't kill me. The blacksmith sighs. Dresden was built after the First Crusade, back when it seemed like victory was ours for the taking, and that the demon invasion would soon be at an end. The population of Old Tsar Chorus was thoroughly diminished, and many of them hoped to see their hard fighting repaid with a small plot of unclaimed land. Dresden was a fortress built on all our hopes, and on Mendev's ambitions. They're not supposed to say that part out loud. What a city it was, Elira, you can't even imagine. It was built by the finest engineers from the Five Kings Mountains. Queen Galfrey spared no expense. Dresden was meant to be the capital of the Crusade movement, a monument to its glory and a beacon of hope for all Golarian. Heroes were drawn there to seek fame and glory. They came from all over. Taldor, Gurand, Tianja. I couldn't list them all. A relic known as the Sword of Valor was kept there, the banner that had been carried into battle by Iomade herself, back when she was still human. That banner protected the city and kept the demons from teleporting inside its walls. As long as the banner was in place, Dresden was invincible, or so we thought. But then the world wound suddenly expanded. The demons launched a new onslaught, and folks started saying that it was time to declare the Second Crusade. Dresden was unassailable until one young officer was tempted by a beautiful woman. She convinced him that the banner shouldn't be hanging in the city, that its rightful place was on the battlefield. She whispered honeyed words about glory and valor and convinced him that he could be a hero as great as Iomade herself, and the poor fool believed her. He routed up some of his hot-headed friends, carried the banner outside the city gates on an unauthorized foray. The demons slaughtered them within seconds, but for some reason, the courageous ringleader was spared. A whole army teleported into Dresden. It was a bloodbath. Goran solemnly shakes his head. As you can guess, that officer was called Staunton Vane, and the woman turned out to be a demon. Not just any demon, it was Imnago, the foul wretch. She's given us a lot of grief here in Canabras, too. Just don't ask me what I was doing while my brother was off having trysts with that beast, and why I didn't save him from his own stupidity. The blacksmith gestures as if to ward off the inevitable reprobation. Who could have guessed it would end like this? I failed my brother, that's the truth. I blame myself every day looking at his plight. So, that's the story. Do you know everyone in Kenabris by sight? Well, not everyone, but it makes it my business to know the people who might need my services. A blacksmith's work isn't just at the anvil, you know. It's hard to notice your kind. Osamars aren't all that common around here, apart from Ramian, the prior of the Temple of Desna, a spiritual fellow with a bit of a wool head. There's also that Count something or other, some mucky muck, not the type to visit a smithy in person. Why do you have your forge here in the tavern yard? Wherever I am, that's where my forge is. A true master of the craft will always find the tools they need. I miss my old forge, of course. It's now just a pile of charred stone and metal, but I still got my hands, and that means I can work. Show me your wares, sir. Oh man, he's got so many weapons. I will do inventory management stuff between videos. I'm not going to bother showing you guys that, but I just want to see if if that sword is available yet, or if it comes later in the game. It's possible it's not here yet. Actually, we can just sort by price. That's probably the easiest way to find it. In descending order. Yeah, it's not here yet. So, Smasher's a pretty good Earthbreaker, but we don't have the +3 longsword that we're going to want at some point. Well, one of our groups. Not particularly this one, but... Actually, wait. Does he have a magical quarterstaff? No, we're going to get a magical quarterstaff soon, so it's not going to matter too much. Let's head in and get Woljif freed. That is our next goal. Eriabeth is standing up here, and it's time to go talk to her. Eriabeth rubs her red and tired eyes. Any success? How's the city? There's a tiefling chained up in the Defender's Heart. What can you tell me about him? Eriabeth shrugs scornfully. Woljif is a petty thief from a gang of tieflings, apparently operating in Kenabris. That's what we call them in these parts. They tried to rob a vendor of magical items recently. Unfortunately, we apprehended only one of them, and the rest managed to escape. We have nowhere else to keep him apart from the Defender's Heart, but that's hardly a prison. Woljif knows it too, and he's been begging us for days to let him go free or have someone vouch for him. He's already asked you to put in a good word for him, hasn't he? Eriabeth squints at you thoughtfully, then shrugs. If you want to recruit Woljif and put him to good use, go ahead and take him off our guard's hands. We can ill afford to let a soldier spend their days watching over a middling thief. Hope the tiefling proves useful, should you decide to take him along. Alright, that's really all we're gonna want. Actually, yeah, we'll come... I guess we should. What's our main objective? You heard what the demon said. They're gonna desecrate the wardstone and blow up the whole barrier around the world wound. That'd be an even worse disaster than the world wound's expansion before the Second Crusade. Not only Kenabris, but every city with a wardstone will be destroyed, including the capital. We can't allow that, no matter what. We will retake it, even destroy it if we must. Iomede's gift must not become a weapon of the Abyss. What are the wardstones? They are our greatest treasure, the shield given to us by Iomede herself and placed in Kenabris, and other Mendevian cities and fortresses by her herald. The chain of wardstones forms a protective barrier that stops the expansion of the world wound and keeps demons from moving beyond its borders. I shudder to think what will happen if that barrier falls. Got some personal questions for you. Please, but I must warn you, there are some things I don't have the right to discuss. Where are you from? I was born in Kenabris. I grew on a farm just outside of it, but on my way back home, lay at the end of a long and winding road. It took me years of traveling through foreign lands, where I came to be where I've always belonged. How'd you become a paladin? A bitter smile appears on the half-orc's face. I don't much like to remember it. Believe it or not, the story of how I became a paladin is also the story of how I failed to become a knight. My parents were crusaders. May their souls stand together in Iomede's celestial army. When I was born, they retired from the war and started preparing me to continue their legacy. But my father was an orc. He'd be pressed to find a calmer, wiser, and more pious servant of the goddess than he. But still, all his life, he was dogged by sideways looks and whispers. When I grew older, and it was time for me to serve, I decided anywhere but Kenabris. That was where my father had served loyally, and his only reward had been injustice. Besides, the witch hunters led by the Honorable Prelate Helrun stalked the city with a heavy hand. Who knows what they'd have done to a strange girl with green skin. Instead I went to... A smirk that looks more like a painful grimace crosses her face. You can laugh if you want, but I was young and foolish. I chose Last Wall of all places. You can imagine how well I was accepted into a country that's been battling the orcs of Belkzen since its foundation. There are many like me, but we are all treated as second-class citizens. To the locals, my green skin was a lot worse than leper scabs. Even my brothers in faith kept their distance. I took my vows, and the goddess granted me the powers of a paladin. But even then, not a single order would accept me into their ranks. I spent another 6 months knocking on doors before I realized a simple truth. I serve Iomede, not these people. I don't have to prostrate myself before them, so I left as a paladin, but not a knight. You must stick out like a sore thumb no matter where you go, right? I know many people envy Osamars, but most of the ones I've known found their celestial heritage a burden. I find it hard to imagine what unasked for adoration must be like. I'm sure it doesn't make life any easier or more pleasant. How'd you come to join a knightly order? I left the last wall and went traveling. The goddess guided me, and my path led me to where atrocities were happening. I often fought in exchange for gold, but never for unworthy aims. Of course, I wandered the River Kingdoms for a few years, killing monsters and tracking down criminals. Sometimes I thought I was just wasting time and that my true place was back in Kenabris, but I pushed those thoughts away. I didn't want to think about going back, but in the end, divine providence had brought me to my senses. It happened in Timon. I was tracking again a gang of bandits, which my employer suspected was a cover for Rasmuran spies. I managed to find their lair, but inside I found something far more dangerous than spies, an unholy temple to Zon Kathan. When I broke in there, the cultists were about to sacrifice someone, the person who was destined to become my wife, Anevia, but that's another story. After I cut down the cultists, I examined their papers and couldn't believe my eyes. A network of evil cults had spread all through Avestan, including Mendev. Worse, the documents clearly showed that their allies, the Templars of the Ivory Labyrinth, had infested my native Kenabris, and were even among the ranks of the Paladins. After that, delaying my homecoming was tantamount to desertion. Luckily, I was no longer alone, and Anevia was as eager as I to destroy the cultists. Anevia and I hurried to Kenabris. We couldn't trust anyone. The papers indicated that the cultists had infiltrated everything. Luckily, I had some experience working an investigation, and my beloved, the half-orc smiles warmly. She knew her way around working locks, tailing people, and trading information with the city's bottom feeders. Soon we defeated, alas, not the whole Hydra, but a few of its heads. Do you know who turned out to be the leader of the cultists? The commander of the Eagle Watch. Can you imagine? While Prelate Holrun was chasing witches throughout the city, the enemy had infiltrated the very order were responsible for internal security. The scandal reached the ears of the Queen. At first she planned to disband the order in disgrace, but then offered its command to me, and to put its salvation in my hands. Of course, there was one small catch. I wasn't a knight, but I was made commander just the same, skipping the usual progression through the ranks. I'm gonna try... Oh, we did the lore religion check passed. I can't imagine the followers of Zon-Cthulhu in alliance with demon worshippers. Shouldn't they hate each other? They should, but Baphomet's minions are masters of deception. They manipulate Zon-Cthulhu's butchers as eagerly as Iomede's knights. The cultists from that unholy temple didn't know the true face of their associates in Kenabris. We ourselves learned the truth much later after getting to the bottom of their nest. How'd the people of Kenabris feel about your background? They tolerated it surprisingly well. I shouldn't have been so wary. Crusaders don't tend to be prejudiced as a rule. After all, heroes from all over the world, even from other continents, come here to fight the demons. Apparently the people were only suspicious of full-blooded orcs. There are already many like me here, and we don't have any problems. Though the locals do have their superstitions, Mendev is as merciless as Last Wall. They just have a different set of victims. I keep seeing those same sideways looks and scowls, hearing the familiar whispers, but where once they used to whisper behind my back and point at me, now they whisper in my ear and point at someone else. It's so strange to be on the other side of humiliation, to wipe the spit from your face, and suddenly be invited to change position and spit at someone else. You must have figured it out by now that I'm talking about the Tieflings. It's true that there are many of them among the cultists, and a few among our crusaders, and our fighters do all they can to drive away those who would be our allies. We'll shun them, call them Arilu's spawn or worse, as if they chose to be born like that. I believe it's quite a feat to rise against the calling of one's own blood and join the forces of good. Still, most only see them as the enemy. I once saw a knight bleeding to death because he wouldn't let a tiefling priest touch his wound. Alas, I haven't been able to change this in all my time in Kenabris. Tell me about Anevia. We met in Timon as I was wandering aimlessly from one ordeal to another. We returned to Kenabris together to expose the Templars of the Ivory Labyrinth. The day the Queen knighted me was the second happiest of my life. The first was the day of our wedding. But Anevia isn't just my beloved, she's my staunchest ally. We share every victory and defeat. The best of me is alive thanks to her. Thank you for saving me back then, the day Kenabris fell. Before her return, the only thing giving me the strength to protect the Defender's heart was the hope that I'd see her again. We are in your debt. Thanks. Gotta go. Maybe Eagle Watch. Alright, tell me about the Eagle Watch. It was a small order created to fight not only the demons but also the enemy within, to maintain the purity of the Paladin ranks, to prevent heresy and identify spies. And it failed miserably at that. The Templars of the Ivory Labyrinth infiltrated it and formed their nest within its ranks. After the Queen entrusted me with leading the order, Anevia and I practically built it from scratch. We got rid of the dead weight, people who weren't committed, we organized ways to transmit messages and orders safely, we introduced reliable ciphers, we found tacit allies around the city, from crusader orders to street beggars. This was my personal crusade to purge the city of Templars who had infested it, and I thought I was winning. I could feel it. We're so close to driving the cultists out of Kenabris, but Eriabeth frowns. It's hard to admit, but those successes didn't count for much once the demons entered the city. On the contrary, if it wasn't for you, there wouldn't be a headquarters of the Defender's Heart. The cultists would have served up the city on a platter to the demons. The lines on Eriabeth's forehead soften. Yes, that's true. It's a good thing we achieved something. Thank you. I have to go. Alright, let's go get Woljif, and then we'll probably be done our video. In the next video, we can actually head out. I think I've talked to a good amount of the people we needed to, if not all of them. There's a lot of talking in this game.
Chief, what do you got for me?
Woljif is sitting in the same place with his tail impatiently batting the floor. I talked to Eriabeth and I've decided to make you part of my troop. We'll see how it goes.
Ha! You must be a smooth talker. Come on, Delvin. Get these bracelets of yours off me. I'm going free.
Woljif leaps to his feet and gleefully rubs his hands.
You're sure to regret this. This tiefling will fleece you for everything you've got. Mark my words.
You're a bitter little man, Delvin. Petty and mean. You can't even be happy for me, can you? I pity you. I'll leave you alone with your sad little soul. So long. And now, Chief, straight down to business. You see, I'm one of those guys that people around here call Tieflings. We just call ourselves the family. After we knocked over that shop and I got stuck here in the Defender's Heart, a little bird told me that big sister Karisme wanted to see me. That she had some questions to ask me. You following?
Woljif is freed from his shackles and rubs his chafed wrists. He glances around, making sure no one is listening in.
Now, she won't be asking me questions like, Woljif, how'd you manage to get out of this one? Or, Woljif, you're so thin, didn't they feed you? No, something serious has gone down, and I just know they want to try to pin something on me. I can feel it in my tail. So, I knew right away that I couldn't go alone. You turned up just in time, Chief. You don't need to do anything when we get there. Just stand behind me and look mean, and I'll handle the rest. Somehow. Let's go, I'll show you the way.
Alrighty. Side quest time. It is a fun side quest and also really worth it. It's where we get a magical weapon. A sentient magical weapon, I might add. Alright. Let's take a look at our new character. So Woljif is a level 3 Eldritch Scoundrel. He's actually a pretty good character. I'm just going to take a look at him. He is chaotic neutral, which means he sort of doesn't fit in our group great. We are lawful good, I believe. But he is neutral, so he might come along for a little bit. We have lawful neutral, undetectable alignment, which is very amusing to me, and lawful good. Anyways, we're going to end the video here. Like always, if you have any suggestions or comments, please leave them below. Otherwise, see you next time. Take care.